Welcome back to the daily study of the Way of Mastery. Today we continue with Lesson 2, You Create Your Experience, Section 3, Peace Flows from Alignment with the Mind of God. And we're going to look at paragraphs 3, 4, and 5. And I think this time I'll read them all in order and then give some commentary. So Jeshua says, the goal that we seek has never changed. It is, in truth, a journey without distance. It is merely the return to where you always are, that you might begin anew to create deliberately, clearly, and with the perfect knowledge that if you are experiencing something, it is because you are the source of it, and for no other reason. The way of the heart is not a way of gaining power. It is not a way in which you will finally be able to make the world be what you want it to be. Rather, it is that pathway in which you learn to transcend and to dissolve from your consciousness every perception, every thought which is out of alignment with what is true. The thought of death is out of alignment. The thought of fear is out of alignment. The thought of guilt is out of alignment. The thought of eternal life is in alignment. The thought of perfect fearlessness is in alignment. The thought of peace is in alignment. The realization of innocence is in alignment. The thoughts of joy and of forgiveness are in alignment and reflect the truth that is true always. And so Jeshua just reminding us that the goal has never changed. It's always been the same. It always will be the same. And it's really a journey without distance. We're really not going anywhere. We're not getting anything that we don't already have. We're really just becoming more aware. That's what waking up in higher consciousness is. We're just becoming more aware of where we already are right now, what our truth is right now. It's not that we evolve, so to speak. We're already here. We're just waking up to it. And he says that you might begin to create deliberately instead of not deliberately, instead of from our programming, which the programming we've inherited or adopted or bought into, or in this case, if we create our experience, chose into, is the programming of the ego, of lack, of separation, of not enough, of unworthiness, of aloneness, the greatest hits, right? Over and over and over again. And he says that you might create deliberately and clearly with the perfect knowledge that if you are experiencing something, it's because you're the source of it and no other reason. There is no other reason. So when we think about the universe is giving me a lesson. So what Jeshua is saying is if you're experiencing something, it's not because the universe out there is giving you a lesson. It's because you are the source of it. And so perhaps if we can open up to this idea that when we say the universe, perhaps it's us, it's our higher self, our soul self that is powerful, that has a lot more context and information and perspective than our human self can see. And think about that in a way that's empowering to know that we are the source of the experience, because again, then we get to choose our experience. But as Jeshua says in the next paragraph, the way of the heart's not about getting power. It's not about making the world what you want it to be. Really, in essence, the you that Jeshua is talking about, again, is the ego you that believes in lack and separation and not enough and unworthiness, and it needs things to feel whole. It needs validation to feel good about itself. It wants to feel special. But that's not what this power is about, Jeshua says. It's not about getting the world to be what you want it to be, to have the partner that you want, that you think is going to make you whole. The lie of Jerry Maguire, you complete me. It's not about getting the money that you think will finally make you feel secure, or the job or the work or the status that will finally make you feel like you're enough in the world, right? It's not about that. This is a pathway in which you will learn to transcend and dissolve from your consciousness every perception, every thought which is out of alignment with what is true. And Jeshua says the thought of death is out of alignment. It's not true. The thought of fear is out of alignment. It's just not true. The thought of guilt, that I've done something wrong, is not true. And I'll add a few more. The thought of shame, that I am wrong is not true. The thought of unworthiness in the mind of the Christ, in the mind of the divine, the idea that you could be unworthy it's a joke. That would be like a prince born in the royal line of, in the blood royalty, be like, well, you're not the prince. Well, no, I am the prince. I'm the king's son, the queen's son. It's in my blood. I'm like, that's what it is. And it's the same thing with us. We're birthed, born, created, a product of divine love. That's what we are. How could we be unworthy? The thought of lack, that somehow you're lacking, that somehow there's not enough in the universe for you, is out of alignment. So that's what Jeshua is saying, that this pathway will help you transcend all of these thoughts that are not true and dissolve them from your consciousness. Every perception that's not in alignment. And think about all the ones we have during the day. Pretty much look at any fear you have based in these things. Look at your life, look at your relationship, look at your work, look at how you see the world, and start to seek these out. That's what this work is really all about, just to look and to see and be like, oh, there it is. That thought's out of alignment with truth. And then Jeshua says the thought of eternal life, comparing it to death, is in alignment. The thought of perfect fearlessness is in alignment. We just don't identify with those things. We don't, in a lot of ways, I think, want to believe that they're true because we're so invested in the thoughts out of alignment. So the risk there is if I believe and buy into and this idea of eternal life, but I see what I call death all around me, people close to me dying, things in the world dying and going away, loss that feels so real and seems real. Like, that's risky. How can I ignore the seeming evidence in front of me that I see with my own eyes, that I hear on the news, that people talk about? But Jeshua is inviting us constantly, continually, to turn within. The thought of eternal life is in alignment with truth. The thought of perfect fearlessness. You know how much fear is trying to be conjured up in the world? Just turn on the news. That's what it's designed to do, to keep you activated in fight or flight so that you're not in your rational mind and you're not in your heart and you're kind of not also in your body. You're not embodied. You're in just like freak out mode. And then you're easy to manipulate, easy to control. And people do this to each other on a mass scale. The news and institutions do it to the masses. Right? There's so much fear. The thought of perfect fearlessness is in alignment. The thought of peace is in alignment. The realization of innocence is in alignment. Thoughts of joy and forgiveness are in alignment and reflect the truth that is true always. And I'll add a couple more. Thoughts of worthiness and thoughts of abundance are in alignment. So are we willing to consciously, purposely, deliberately, intentionally focus on those thoughts that are true? Because the ego thoughts, all those things that aren't true, they're so loud. They are so loud. They get our attention they try to get our attention so much by how loud they are. Look, here's evidence of lack. Look, the economy is doing this. Look, the banks are doing that. Look, the inflation is going up. Look at the Ukraine situation. Look at the monkeypox or the COVID. Look at the homelessness problem. Look at the immigration problem. Look at the racism problem. It's just constant noise from the ego mind. Think about it as a consciousness. And Jeshua is inviting us to turn within over and over and over again, to affirm and claim the truth that is true always. And it is a process in time. So be gentle with yourself. That's why we're doing this every day. Like, these are the same messages every single day, but it's good for us to hear it. It's good for us to ponder and contemplate and then go out in our day and see these things playing out in our life. repetition is how we shift our focus and our consciousness. So thanks for listening. If you get value from this, like, subscribe, share, drop us a note, hello@revelationbreathwork.com, and we'll see you tomorrow.